All right, so yeah, I guess I'll just get started now. People might still trickle in, but that's fine. So hi guys, my name is Zain Hasnain. I'm a sophomore in CS at Virginia Tech. Interested in software development and software engineering. I'm interested in machine learning and artificial intelligence work, also data science. And yeah, today I'm going to be hosting the Intro to Python workshop here at HackViolet. I've gone to a lot of hackathons as an award winner, mentor, judge, workshop host. I've supported around 30 plus hackathons, so I have a lot of experience. So if you guys have any questions about me or want advice on your projects, especially as I'm a judge, um, there's going to be time left at the end so we can talk about that. And then if you have questions about the code we'll be going through, throughout the workshop, I'll be checking chat. So if you just want to post it in chat as you come up with a question, I'll try to answer it as soon as possible while I'm conducting the workshop. So feel free to do that. And yeah, we'll be getting started right about now.
Um,
Just share my screen.
Zane, I have a few announcements to make.
Oh, sure.
Okay, so hi guys, my name is Rana. I'm one of the organizers for HackViolet. I am a sophomore majoring in business information technology at Virginia Tech. And halfway throughout the workshop, I will be sending an attendance link that you guys should fill out in order to be, placed into the roster. And yeah, as the workshop goes on, I'll also be answering some questions in the chat or just bringing Zane's attention to the questions.
Cool. Thank you for that. Um, yeah, let me just share my screen. All right. Can you see my screen? Okay, cool. So yeah, I'm just gonna go over some of the things that you'll need prior to the workshop. So the first thing you'll need to do is install Python. So all you really need to do is just search Python in Google or something, then go to the python.org page, and then under this tab downloads, you'll see this tab says download for Windows. And so you just download the latest version of Python 3.9.1 is the latest one. And then you can just go through the installation process there. One note I have about that is if I think when you're installing it, it has this checkbox for add to path. That basically means when you're running Python from the command line, you don't have to type out the whole path of your file. You can just cd into the location of the file and then just click like name of your file.py and you can run it. So if you just one note, if you're installing Python for the first time, I'd check that box that says add to path. Another thing that's not necessary, but you could definitely use is an IDE um, for using Python. I'm going to be using idle, which just comes pre-made with Python when you install it. You can also use REPL.it if you want to use something more browser-based and like uh, collaborative, like within your team. But yeah, I'll be using idle. You can use PyCharm is one that I definitely recommend. Another thing is pip. So pip is a package manager for Python, comes pre-installed. I don't believe we'll really be using this for our workshop. I think we're just using like the basic functions, but packages are vital to creating great projects using Python. So they have a lot of stuff out there, especially um, if you're if you're using something like ML or AI based, which is in my field. I definitely recommend looking into different packages just to make that easier in a hackathon. Um, because you don't need to code everything from scratch. Um, One person said how I open pip. I believe you can just in your command line you can just type in pip install and then the package you want to install. If you have Python installed, it should also automatically install pip. So it should just come with Python. But yeah, like I was saying, a lot of great things with packages. So the other thing is the code. So this is the GitHub repository. Let me actually just share that in chat with y'all. All right. So this is where all the code is being held. So we're just going to be making this hangman.py file. So I'm going to be going over the basic functionality of Python through making a small hangman game. So basically what you're going to need is this words.txt file, which just has a bunch of words just pre-made for the purposes of a hangman game, which you can just go to either of these links. It should have the list where you just download it and make sure to name it words.txt and put in the same location where your hangman.py is located. Yeah, and then this is the code for that. All right, just a second. I was just trying to go into, where is it? All right. All right. So yeah, we'll just be starting off creating this hangman game, I guess. So basically, just if you haven't played Hangman much before, basically just a game where you're given a word and then you're supposed to continue guessing individual letters that fill in the word until you guess it, or you fill in all the letters of the word so you know what the word is. And then you have a limited number of guesses. Yeah, PyCharm can be downloaded for free. There's a free version for that. All right. So the first thing we'll be doing is importing random. So random is a pretty simple hacked in Python for just random number generation, which of course is useful in games. So we'll be using that. And I guess the first thing you want to do is just print out just some kind of message to your player. So welcome to Hangman, that works. Just a message to introduce them. And then first, we're going to be setting some kind of difficulty setting. So difficulty. So in Python, if you use other languages but not Python, you don't need to like specify the type of variable. Like in Java, you need to specify if it's an int or a double or something like that. Python, you don't need to do that. So here we're just going to be setting it equal to an input. So select difficulty. Let's do easy, medium, and hard. And then we're gonna put a new line here. So so just a space afterwards, so it's not all just on the same line. We just have chat pulled up on the side. Yeah. So again, this is an idle. It just comes with Python. It's like the default like I guess IDE, I guess, or text editor. All right, and then we just set a while loop. So let's create a list. It's probably a bit easier if you have an IDE, which kind of does quotes and those things automatically. But basically, we're making this, so we'll basically be able to check if someone doesn't put an easy, medium, or hard when you ask them that. It doesn't accept them, so so it doesn't instantly clash. It's just an invalid input. Ulti. All right. valid difficulty. All right. Yeah. So basically, all we did here was we made a while statement. So if the difficulty, so whatever you input, so difficulty is equal to what the input of what you respond to this. If it's not in this list, then it just prints this message which just says it's invalid. And then next we'll just show the select a word using the difficulty that they chose. So all right. And then this, oh, gotta put the F. So yeah, so this is basically a print statement, but with a function. So, or with the variable. So this is basically selecting a difficulty word. So we'll be saying like, if you selected easy, you'll be saying selecting an easy word or a hard word, something like that. Also, yes, whoever said Python is cool, I definitely agree with you. And then next, what we're going to do is we're going to be opening the words.txt file. I should actually show you what that looks like. Yeah, this is how that looks like. It's just a huge list of words. Well, I don't know if you can see it, but it's just a list of words. All right. So yeah, also, I'm not going to be commenting like too much because I'll be talking throughout the workshop. But if you want to see like the comments for what each piece of chunk of code is doing, go to the GitHub link. It has everything commented out. So let's just create a quick comment. Just show this. Open words. Yep. Also, highly recommend commenting your code, even if you don't have time to do it in the hackathon, because I know y'all are going to be busy. If you want to go after the hackathon is over and just like go through your code and just comment it out, that's something I regret not doing at some of my previous hackathons, because some of that code has proven to be very useful and some of it I don't know what it does. So if you're a first time hacker, I definitely recommend doing that. So the code you wrote is of more use to you. So let's make something called a variable called all words. List in. We're opening words.txt. And we're reading it. All right. So filtered score words. All right. So essentially, yep, I'm using idle, but you can use whatever you want. So basically, all we're doing here is we're opening the words.txt file, and if you have any issue, like if there's an issue at this point, just make sure that it is in the same location where your this Python file is. So just make sure in the same directory if you're having an issue with that. So basically, opening words.txt, and we're saving all of the words inside of it to a data structure, in this case a list. And then next, what we're going to do is map the difficulties to the word lengths, and then we're going to set like the guess amount. So how many guesses you have. So let's do easy first. Submit somebody. Let's say it equals easy. Let's set the number of turns equal to 12. And then we're going to do a for loop. So word in all underscore words. All words is what we did right here for word in all words. Score words and word. So now we're saying for each word inside all words. So we're parsing through that, going through each word. We're going to append. We're going to append that word to the filter words list that we created here.
They probably wouldn't be able to really very well if the coders themselves can't.
I don't know who's just talking about. And then we're going to be creating an if statement if the length of the word let's say it's greater than equal to 5 and the length of the word is less than 7. Yeah, so basically this is what would is going to be differentiating the like modes aside from the number of turns you have is the length of the word. So of course the harder difficulty is going to have longer words. Okay. And basically we're going to be doing that for the others as well. So literally you can just copy and paste. So let's make this medium. Let's lower the turns to 10. And then this one is hard. This is 8. Yep. So just that greater than or equal to 7. So you get harder words there. All right. So let me actually just comment that because that's a decent bit of code right there. So yeah. So just mapping the easy, medium, and hard difficulties to basically the number of turns you have and the length of the words that you can possibly get. All right. So next we're going to be getting I guess what we'll call it is a secret word. It's basically a word from the filtered words list that we're going to be choosing is the word that is unknown to the player. So the word they're trying to guess, basically. And choice. And then we're going to do it from filtered words. Yep. So random.choice is from import random that we did earlier. It's a pre-built function. So basically you can just pick a random word from that filtered words list. Yeah, and we're just going to be just setting the guesses equal to empty now. We're just initializing it there. And then the next part, big portion, is the game loop. So this is the actual game that you're going to be playing. So this is what's going to be like going on. So let's just make it big while loop. So basically when you have more than 0 turns, otherwise you'd lose. let's set some variables. So failed equals 0. Basically, that's just how many fails they have, so how many things they guessed wrong. And then we're going to be basically creating the function that, or the for loop that allows them to incrementally like guess the secret word. So for car in secret underscore word. So if car in, basically if car is in guesses, so if what you're guessing is inside of what you've already guessed, then it's just not gonna like allow you to like guess it again. So you don't keep guessing the word P, so you lose all your turns.
کورتون میزد بدبخت.
And car. And then otherwise,
خودش طرف دیگه ماره خود ویروسه.
Zane, you're muted.
sorry, am I good now?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think it was just the world art mute. Okay, so yeah, like I was saying, basically the reason we're doing this is so we can turn the underscores into the actual words you're guessing. So if you guess it right, it won't just appear as like this. It'll appear like, yeah, it'll appear like that. And then when you guess I, it'll say hi, just like that. And then, so we're just gonna add 1 to your failed guesses if you guess it wrong. Oops. There we go. And then we're just going to print that out so it's visible to the player. And then, so if you have, no failures, so you've, I guess the words, let me just say it'll print you win, something like that. And then we're going to print out the correct word. Word. Yep. So basically, the word is hi, or whatever the secret word is. And then we'll just break to get out of this loop. All right. So and then next what we're going to do is if the user has, if they've like input the wrong alphabet, then you can enter another alphabetical character. This equals, let's, And then this is also where we're going to be preventing the duplicate guesses. So if guessing guesses, let's print. And then we got to put the F. So Python knows that we're using a variable to insert within this string. So you already guessed. And then if it's not in the secret word, so like if it's a unique thing that you're guessing, we'll just decrement the number of turns you've got. It's not in secret word. Let's decrement the turns. And then we want to give them some kind of message. So print wrong. And then we'll print the number of turns that they've got left. Also, just guys, make sure to check in the chat. There's like an attendance form there, so you can get a raffle ticket from filling that out. So just make sure you check chat for that and fill that out. Right. Print. Yep. So then it's gonna say you have X more guesses, so you know how many remaining turns you have. And then we're gonna make the you lose statement. So if you have 0 turns left, let's print out the word that it was. And then we'll just say like you lose or something. All right. Someone's in the waiting room. Yeah, so then this will make it so that every character you input will be stored in guesses now. Let me save that. All right. Yeah, and now I'm gonna be doing is putting that the Python file in a folder, and I'm going to be also putting the words.txt file within the same folder. So let me just make sure I got that all right. Yeah, let me just take a second. I might have put it in the wrong folder or something. All right. Let me share it back once more. All right. So now basically, we're just going to run it because it's pretty much done. It's a very simple program. Very good at showing you just basic functionality of Python. Hold on, let me actually share the shell where it's going to be running. Okay, there we go. So when we boot into the game, it just says, welcome to Hangman. Please select the difficulty easy, medium, or hard. So let's just say, oh, we just want to say hi. And it doesn't like that, so it's an invalid difficulty. So let's say easy, for example. And so now it takes a word from that whole list, limits the number of characters it could be, and then gives you 12 guesses for easy. And then there's a question in chat. I'll make sure to answer after I just go through this. So let's just guess A. So it was there. We got to start out with the vowels. So yeah, then we got it wrong, and so we have 11 more guesses. So it decremented the guess count. We just guessed a whole bunch of random things. And then I just guessed A there again, but it says you already guessed A, so it didn't decrement our number of turns this time. You have a lot of guesses. Okay, there we go. So the word was hard. So because our number of guesses hit 0, so basically our turn count, it says you lose, and then it prints out the word. So yeah, let me go back to the code just so you can view it. Okay, so luckily their issue was fixed. But yeah, if you want to see the code in chat, I posted the link, and I'm pretty sure on the Discord there's also a link to the code. And it's all commented out, so you can see what each individual part does. And yeah, this is pretty much the crux of it. You learn how to use random and basically just create a simple game. And it has a lot of useful things, like especially as I've been doing workshops and things like that, I've definitely gotten to relearn my basics. And a lot of these things come in more in handy than you would think, like things just like reading a file, setting it in a list, and then parsing through that list. Like those basic functions are something you're going to be using all the time. If you're doing machine learning, if you're doing data science, if you're going to be doing a game, whatever you're doing, it's very useful, even across languages. So yeah, this is essentially the result of that. Let me stop the screen share for now. Yeah, so if you guys have any particular questions about the code, what we did, about Python in general, feel free to ask them right now. That was the bulk of the actual coding for the workshop, but like I said, I'll be seeing after if you have personal questions about your projects in general, what like a judge's perspective is on the best project. I'll be going over a few things regarding that, and any advice you want, stuff like that. I'll be happy to provide. But yeah, just post whatever questions you want in chat. Platforms do you recommend to learn Python? It really depends on how you learn, honestly. Also, of course, accepting people's advice and like taking different people's advice is a good thing, right? Because if a lot of people found something useful, then you might also, but also just realize that everybody is different. So like some people told me to use Code Academy. I didn't find it particularly helpful, to be completely honest. Some people might, if they like the interface, it can definitely be useful. I personally started by just creating a project. So I think I started around high school. Basically, I just created a dice rolling game without using like the random package. I created a dice game just to roll a die. And even something simple like that, like it taught me all the basic functionality of Python, and especially something like this. Like even if your hackathon project isn't necessarily a hangman game, you're probably going to be using some of the skills that were within this game in your code. I can almost guarantee that. Like if for loops, else if statements, while loops, stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's there's definitely a lot of ways, but yeah, I personally learned through like creating a small project or something that I was interested. I just looked up YouTube video for and went through it, and then I kind of learned the skills that way. Yeah, yeah. Feel free to post more questions. Yeah, I think we got a decent amount of time. Rana, do you know when this meeting will go until, or like when the next like workshop will be?
So there are various workshops. They're all provided on the schedule. This is set to run until 1:30. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, we'll just be sticking around.
Yeah, I also because um yeah I also prepared some other material for like not necessarily this workshop with like Python coding but just because I actually run a few other workshops at various hackathons like machine learning ones or basically like a intro to hackathons kind of one. So I think I might go into a bit of that material just because like knowing how to like make a good project is something I think everyone could benefit from, honestly. um yeah, so printf select. Oh, okay, so the printf thing is basically the f is there just to you basically put that whenever you have a variable inside. So you see how difficulty is in brackets. That's because difficulty is we want to specify that difficulty isn't the word difficulty, it's the variable difficulty. So we're going to be putting inside whatever your input was. So if you put in easy, it'll say selecting a easy word. Also make sure you put F before your quotations like you did in chat. So it doesn't think it's just the word F, it's specifying that you're using the variable. What command do you use to run the program? I just use idle. It's prepackaged with Python. Yeah, you can just open it within, like if you just search idle when you've installed Python, it should be there if you just search it. And yeah, it has its own method of like running the code. But yeah, you can use PyCharm or whatever else you'd like. Let me just go over some of the other materials I had. Yeah, like I said, I'll be answering whatever questions you have for me or about the code in the chat. I'll be going through a few materials from the other workshop I do, which basically just teaches you the basics of creating a project for a hackathon. I think it's definitely useful for anybody. So I'll just be going through like just the most important points, which I think is definitely most applicable here. So basically, how I kind of like structure my hackathon projects is I basically structure in like forming a team is the first step, and you got to brainstorm your idea, and then you have to actually structure how you're gonna work remotely. So basically, the first thing I would do, big tip for me, is don't just like. So it's great if you have an idea you already want to make, I would be open to changing that idea or seeing what other people want to use. Like, say someone's like, say their skills are mainly in like front end, like maybe they've used HTML, CSS, JavaScript, stuff like that. But maybe they want to dabble in back end, or they want to make a game or something like that. I feel like it's very good to be open to that. If someone wants to work on something definitely new to them, I think a hackathon is probably the perfect place for that. So I definitely recommend just starting off something new. But I would really get to know your team members as people. I wouldn't just jump all gung ho into the project. I'd ask them about their hobbies or interests. Like, what do they want to learn at a hackathon? Like, what they find out about it? Because a lot of my longtime friends, I've met at hackathons, whether they're like other organizers, or they're hackathon teammates. Like, also, biggest tip I can give, or I guess the most valuable thing at a hackathon you can do is network. Like, sure, winning a prize is great. Yeah, of course it is. But I think that networking is something that could potentially get you a job. Like, a lot of people I've networked with, like, even if the project didn't turn out great, like, I still keep in touch with them, or they can refer me to the job. Never know where people are going to go. So that's one big tip I would definitely do is network your heart out, talk to people who aren't on your team, just see what other projects are going on. People love to talk about themselves, so if you ask, they'll probably be open to sharing what they're doing or what their stack is. And I'd also try to find people with diverse skill sets. Like, even if you're doing like an MLAI project, maybe you don't want everyone who's a backend developer more on the algorithm side. You want some people on front end, or even skills outside of programming, right? I remember, I forget the hackathon. Was it Pen Apps? I think it was either Pen Apps or NASA Space Apps. I think it was Pen Apps or something. I was at a hackathon. I wasn't participating. I was just there, and one of the winners, the team was basically, they didn't really code much. They were nurses actually, and basically what they created was like a pamphlet of how to care for babies in the NICU, which is basically like a place for sick babies in hospitals. So their project really didn't have much coding. They created some graphic design for the pamphlet and stuff like that, but they did win because their project just was really usable, really important. Um, Even if it wasn't necessarily the most technically impressive. Now, that's not to say that um, technically impressive projects aren't great. They definitely are. But I think what's also important is considering like scalability. Like, if this project was actually put out there, would it do more good than harm, especially if it's a big social issue? I would definitely consider that. And as a judge, I definitely give a few bonus points to people who consider that kind of thing. I would just check the chat if anyone says anything. Oh, and then to go along with that, one big thing I like to say is fit the tech to the issue, not the issue to the tech. So basically, what I mean by that is a lot of people, they want to use a particular type of tech. So if they're really focused on using machine learning or artificial intelligence, they'll kind of go full in on that, without really thinking on like, does this issue actually require that? Is this over engineered, or is this a complex issue which needs a complex solution? I think that's something really important to consider, because if someone is using a database, for example, like, and they create this huge database, but it's not really, it's kind of like overdone for their needs, where when they could use like Firebase or something, which is very simple, it could just do it just fine. I think it's good if you're using something more harder to learn, but I think it's better if something is actually fit to what you need to do with it. And yeah, the next part is finding team members. So I believe previously in the hackathon we had a session for finding team members. If you still need to find team members, probably just post something in Discord, or contact one of the organizers. They should be able to help you out with the best way to approach that. Yeah, you should basically create a post or something that says like what your skill set is, your experience programming, any project ideas you have, and if there's any particular domains you're interested in. Rana, can you go over the I guess the categories for HackViolet? I can't name off the top of my head.
Okay, so all the categories are on our website. I just linked the schedule. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna click the link I sent, and then on the top right, you're gonna go to Dev Post and Prizes, and each prize will each category will have a certain prize, and it's all listed out there.
Nice. So yeah, so you can do that and see connect what you want to do with what current categories are, or if there's a particular company with a particular piece of tech that you think will be a good fit for you. Say that in your intro. Say that you're interested in doing that. That'll definitely boost your chances of finding a good team who you kind of align with. And another thing I want to point out is working remotely. So it's something a lot of people even still aren't used to because hackathons, you can kind of just tap on somebody's shoulder and uh, talk to them, or you kind of periodically talk to them. It can definitely be hard virtually, though I think that it can be just as efficient as in person. So number one thing, it's kind of obvious, but communication. So making sure that you're consistently in contact with your teams. Um, uh, yeah, just making sure that you have some kind of meetings or some kind of standards where it's like every 30 minutes, every hour. You're checking in saying like, how's the year, what's everyone's particular task, how's it going? Um, do any changes need to be made if something's not working? If something is, are there any improvements or new ideas that we've come up with since then? um yeah, just constantly like having a team culture that's like open to being critiqued and opening to new ideas that you didn't think of initially, and kind of dynamically changing your workflow, I think is definitely important. And that kind of goes with what I initially said as getting to know your team members as people. I think people are going to be a lot more honest with you and a lot more receptive of you if they're not taking the hackathon super seriously, right? Because the last thing you want to do is someone to be offended or against like change when something isn't going well. Or something I've seen a lot is people like they say they have a handle on things, but if they're like the only one working on that particular task, that particular side of things, then they get like pressured and they don't want to say anything, but they'll just continue work on it. Then it's like 3 a.m. and you don't have a working product. I faced that a couple times. I think a lot of us have. So to avoid that, I think it's definitely good to be friends with your teammates and make sure to be honest. Yeah. Got like 10 minutes left. I guess some of the last things I wanted to say was um because this hackathon is for you guys. So these organizers spent months and months planning this. So I think it'd be really good if you could try to get the most you can out of this hackathon experience. Try and go to all the workshops, even if it's not necessarily something you're super interested in. Maybe you'll like the speaker, or maybe you'll like where they work and you want to connect with them afterwards. Doing stuff like that is great and is like the most value you'll get out of a hackathon. And enjoy your hack. Like do something that's fun. Like if you can of course make the 1000th COVID tracker, which don't get me wrong is fine, but think about, has this project already been made? Has it worked out? Why hasn't has it or has it not worked out? And what do I want to do differently with this topic that's been touched on previously? Because it's unlikely that you're going to create something that's completely unique, right? So that's definitely something to do. And like I said, learn something new if you can. If you're doing ML or AI, try to, instead of using Python packages like scikit-learn, pandas, try to use like Microsoft Azure or something, or something from AWS or another thing like that. Try to make it some kind of new learning experience for yourself. And then presenting. I'm not sure exactly what the guidelines on presenting your project are, but I assume it's a video. It's a video, right, Rana?
So there's multiple ways to present. It could be a video, also through GitHub. But yeah, everything's on the website. It'll show you all the platforms that you can submit through.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that as a judge. Like, um, the other stuff is definitely important. Like, if there's something you can't mention in your video because it's more of a granular detail, I make sure to read the dev post and other documentation as well. Though your video is probably one of your more important means of presenting, because you can't like be in front of your presenter presenting to their face. You want to be as good and clear as possible. If someone had a thing in chat, I'll make sure to answer right after I finish this point. Yeah, just make sure that most of what you're going over is you're not just talking about your background information on why you did it, how exactly you did it. You should be talking about that while you're going through your demo. Like a lot of your product should just be you demoing your hack so we can see what it does. And a lot of people, most judges don't expect like a super complete solution, but there's some level of polish we do expect. So just know that if something isn't super perfect, showing that you worked on something but weren't able to complete it is better than not showing anything at all, in my opinion. So just showing the effort you put in is definitely important. And if you've got extra time, polish your code, polish your presentation, add some cool visuals or something like that. It's obviously not the main point, but if you got extra time, that's something you can definitely do. From a judge's point, our applications generally high ranked than web-based applications is something inherently more impressive. For me, it really depends on what you're trying to do, right? If you need an application, I wouldn't necessarily say an application there's not like a ranking, because it really just like technical expertise is important, but it really depends on what you're making it for. So one example I often give is if you're making an app for the elderly, for example, like say you have the most robust algorithm in the world and it's super complicated with a neural network and everything, but if it's not simple to use, then the elderly aren't going to be able to use it. So it kind of defeats its own purpose. So it's really subjective on how I would judge a project based on like what it's trying to do and does it do well what it needs to do well. So really depends on what you need, and also just the experience of your team. Like if I would rather see a well-made web app than a software application that wasn't made super well, because everyone is trying to just make that for the purpose of doing something impressive. Let's see, what else did they say? Or I guess one other thing I want to mention is like the most important thing to me when I'm judging a project, like probably the number one thing is creativity. Like to a judge, like I make sure to look a little longer at each individual project. Just because I understand from the hacker point of view, like you're putting all this time into it, but some judges may look at it a little less, a little more. So you want to make sure you get them with initial hook, like um something they've either never seen before or never seen done in a particular way before. Creativity is definitely one of the most important things at a hackathon. Yeah, and then kind of like what I said before, if you have any future plans or if there's a particular feature you want to implement, make sure to note that at the very end of your video or your dev post. I think that's very good to show. Just shows that you're invested in your project and interested to see it grow in some way. In that it's basically just well thought out. If you've got like things like scalability, or if you've got like cost estimates or something like that, that's also definitely a plus. And then, like I said before, the most important thing is have fun. Like hackathons are more than anything a learning experience. So it's great if you win, but I think the most important thing is just enjoying yourself and getting along with this community, which is a great thing to especially have right now in our current times. Yeah, so having fun is definitely the most important thing in my opinion. So yeah, I know that was a decent bit of information. If you have any other questions, I'll be staying a little bit after 1:30, but if you have any other questions, feel free to post them in chat about me, what I just talked about, the code. Just send them and I'll respond to them as soon as possible. Yeah, so feel free to stick around for that. If you have to go, that's cool. Thank you guys for coming. I'm looking forward to judging all your projects. So yeah, I'll be staying a bit after and post anything you want in chat.